Okay, we are going to be assembling a birdhouse from slabs. Remember that there was a demonstration earlier on using these templates and cutting out all of the panels needed to make this particular birdhouse. And this particular birdhouse is designed for bluebirds. So we are in eastern Pennsylvania in hopes of attracting some bluebird families. And I just want to go over what these pieces are. Here's the front. The front will have the hole up high because that's how the bluebirds like it. And the back. So the same panel, same size, same template. Just this will have the hole in it. I like texture because of how texture picks up the glaze, and I thought maybe the birds would like a pretty house. And then I have two side panels, and I decided on a feathery texture here, whereas this is like a leafy texture. And then the roof panels, just went with what I thought seemed a bit like a roof texture, like roof tile. And then a bottom. In the bottom, I put texture on, not for looks, but so that the birds inside would have, maybe it could stay a little drier, because we're not going to glaze the interior. And it has a tooth, meaning a little something to grab onto. Okay, so a few things that I want to make sure you do before you start your scoring and slip. First of all, we want to cut the hole for the bluebirds to enter and exit. Of course, I'm in the studio and I have this cutter that is 1.5 inches around, so that's a cross like this in diameter. But you can look around and find something that's 1.5 inches around the house. So this is just a lid for a plastic jug. So maybe you're going to find something like that. I will, just for the sake of it, use my cutter so that I can demonstrate a nice clean cut. First of all, make sure that you're centering the cut, and I did put a little line in. Take a look. I measured so it would be in the middle, so that this space and this space would be the same. And then I'm going to eyeball it back on there. And here, again, like a cookie cutter, right? Just get to cut that right out. Here, you would trace around and cut it out with your knife or your needle. Okay, so there it is, the center. Now, I'm ready to show you what you need to do. I labeled all the parts. You see that? Front, back, side, and it didn't matter if it was right or left, so I just wrote side on both, and roof on the roof. Now what I want to show you is this technique called mitering. And you miter the edges of your panels here, just the two sides of the front and back. Now watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take an angle, and I'm going to take the same angle on all these panels just on the side so that they match up and the corners are still the textured side of the panel for the birdhouse. So you have to flip it over so the front is face down. Otherwise, you'd be cutting some of the front away. I'm right-handed, so I'm just going to flip this around. And you get another miter cut. That wasn't enough. I need the cut to come all the way to the edge like that miter cut did. So if you can see it, I still see some of that square edge, so I'm going to angle that again, cut it, and keep these as flat as you can. If they start to move around a little bit, which of course clay does, as it shrinks, warps a little, slab technique, that's one of the goals, is to keep it flat, especially when you're constructing architecture like birdhouses. Now remember, face down, and just the two sides are getting mitered. I had to spray my panels today because they were on these wooden boards, which I wanted them to stiffen up, but they had gotten just a little stiffer than I like for joining, so I sprayed them. Okay, other side, right-handed, gotta flip it around. So we're going to do a lot of prep work before we put it together, and then putting it together should go very quickly. And if the clay is hard, of course it's harder to cut these edges. Okay. Now remember, just the two sides, and I'll show you, that side sits there, so it wouldn't be the short side, it's the longer side here, and I'm going to miter. So face down again, and miter cut. A little bit more. I'm going to take it off the wood. I seem to be gouging the wood a little bit, but this Formica table won't get gouged. Ah, much better. And again, trying to keep the whole edge of the front, not taking anything away, but getting the cut to come straight down to it. So it's kind of like a razor's edge right there, if you can see it. Okay, one more side to miter. Just keep getting it till it's right, rather than go too far. If I go too little, at least I can go back over it. If I gouge too much away, then I have to try to replace it, or my seam will be weak and perhaps crack. So you see, you need a certain amount of stiffness at this stage when you're doing this mitering. Okay, a little bit more there. Okay. All right, so all four of the sides are mitered. You do not miter the bottom. And remember, I have texture coming up into the inside. And we want to put holes on the inside because we want the little birds to have some drainage on the interior. So I'm just going to come in from the corner, give it a turn with a knife here. I'm not going to measure this out. I have a sense of, that's safe distance for the panels to be attached and still have the hole on the inside of the house. Okay, so little drainage there in case rain gets inside. It won't stay long, it'll drain out. Okay. We have to also do a miter cut on the roof, and you have to make sure you're orienting the roof properly. So just to show how the roof will attach, you'll be mitering the short sides because it will attach this way. You can see that. Like this, so that there is overhang, okay? And that we have the depth front and back, and overhang again, front and back. Okay, so lots of overhang. Again, they're out in all weather, but we're going to give them a really nice place to live for the season. So it would be at the top on one of the short sides that we're going to miter it. And we can start with the same angle as the other one, and if we have to cut more of an angle later, we will. That's one, and then the top of the other. I did write on the inside, so even in the way you write the word roof down could help you orient top, bottom, side to side. So my hand went a little heavier on the second half of that cut. There we go. And so what you need to see is how the roof will meet. And right now, it looks like a good angle, but we'll match it up once we get the sides completed. So we'll set the roof aside and start to assemble the bottom. Okay, so in order to prep, you definitely want to have done all the cutting and all the mitering that needs to be done, the holes in the bottom, okay? All right, so that's prep work.